Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 20 of Be With Me. And today's, I'm not sure if this is going to fit in the title, but why you need to buy Joseph lunch in heaven. And I want you to listen to the story. Again, this is actually third day with the same story. Listen through Joseph's viewpoint. So pay attention as if you were Joseph in real time, and you don't know what's going to happen next. All right. This is the birth of Jesus Christ, verse 18 from Matthew chapter 1. Now, the birth of Jesus Christ took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, so he's super engaged, hyper engaged, before they came together, before sex, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. Joseph doesn't know the whole Holy Spirit part or doesn't believe the Holy Spirit. She just shows up back from Elizabeth 4 months pregnant. Verse 19. And her husband, it doesn't mean they're married yet, that they refer to husbanding, while they were engaged. They had special names for their engaged, betrothed people. And her husband, Joseph, so now we get his description, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. So the marriage covenant, engagement, betrothal required divorce, unlike ours, which is just, give me the ring back. Verse 20. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. So he gets it from an angel. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife. I think that means they actually got married then. But knew her not, so no sex, until she had given birth to a son 5 months later. And he called his name Jesus, as was commanded. So let's talk about Joseph's situation. Mary shows up after a big long trip down to Jerusalem area to go visit her aunt Elizabeth. They both get the Holy Spirit. John the Baptist is inside of Elizabeth. Jesus is inside of Mary. The Lord comes to visit. The mother of my Lord comes to visit Elizabeth. They're both just so touched by this. They're having a pregnancy party down there. And then she shows up back in northern Israel 4 months later, at least 3 months later. And she's pregnant. She's a little poochy. She's starting to show. And then Joseph has a choice on what to do. And basically, the cool thing about Joseph, there's so many great things about Joseph here, is that he treats her right before. In other words, no sex before marriage. Secondly, he treats her right currently. And then just to sort of be on the safe side, even after they're married, he doesn't have sex with her until this child is born. So what's happening here, we have to understand the intensity of the problem here. So they are super engaged. They're titled husband and wife. And to break this, you actually have to have a formal legal proceeding, which they describe as a divorce. So in ancient Israel, the betrothal process was very committed, very legal, without any of the fun and no hanky-panky. So Joseph here is described as being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame. Well, now, what is he talking about? Well, he's referring back to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 23, which talks about stoning people for sort of illicit sex. So God is very concerned with the purity of his people. He's very concerned about the set apartness about his people in general. And he's also concerned with the personal conduct, the personal holiness, and the personal morality of individuals that make up his congregation. And like all things in life, what you do betrays what you believe. So pregnancy is betraying what you believe about God. So we find Joseph here resolving and considering. We find him to be a very thoughtful person. He plans, he considers things. And he decides to quietly, as opposed to publicly, so he could make this a big deal publicly and literally have her stoned outside the gates of their town. That's in play with an unfaithful wife, which she would be referred to as this. So in a sense, he literally holds her life in his hands. And for this betrayal that he assumes that she has committed with good evidence until the angel straightens him out. So his assumption, I would think, would be betrayal, or that would be the first thing that he would think of. And him being a good Jewish kid would know that I can have you killed for this. I could legally have you killed for this. But we find Joseph compassionate to start, which is so neat, and just and thinking about this. How can we make this situation right? And then finally, after the angel straightens him out and says, no, this is a pregnancy that is from the Lord, that the Holy Spirit, that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit, and then says these incredible things, that it's a son, that his name's going to be Jesus, and that his job is going to be to save people from their sins. Then Joseph has a choice, which is to believe and to act on that, or to not believe and act on that. And so verse 24, when Joseph woke up from sleep, so immediately upon awakening, he did as the angel of the Lord command, and then he marries her. So Joseph did the right thing before, he does the right thing during. He, for this being on the safe side, doesn't have sexual relations, doesn't consummate the marriage until the child is born, and he immediately obeys the angel. So I think we all need to buy Joseph lunch when we get to heaven, because he changes his mind, obeys the angel, and is kind and compassionate to his betrothed. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow.